Hey there, and welcome to the Brittany Wheeler Show. Join Brittany as she interviews incredible people whose stories will uplift you and remind you the life you long for is just ahead. Buckle up for an inspirational ride to your best life. Take it away, Britt.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Brittany Wheeler Show. I'm so grateful to have you joining us today, listening in, watching, for those of you that are watching from YouTube, and really excited for the conversation today. You'll also be getting a fantastic gift with purchase. My guest has an incredibly beautiful, handsome Great Dane named Henry. So if you see another person walking around, aka Henry, just know that he's wanting to get his 10 seconds on YouTube. So I cannot wait to get started and to have an incredible conversation. Y'all, when I first met this person, we had a 90+ minute conversation, and I was like, okay, this is real. She's real. I want her story to be shared. I know it's going to bless so many people. So I'm going to get into introducing her. She is a dog mom, as we know, a daughter, a friend, a recruiter by profession, a fighter, a servant heart, a dreamer, an overcomer. Please welcome Danielle DuPree to the Brittany Wheeler Show.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you today. And I know that this conversation has been a long time in the making. So I know that there's going to be so many awesome things that we talk about. But before we jump in, this part of the segment is where my guests get to share either, a story of us, how we met, or why you said yes to the podcast. Technically I didn't know you until one of my previous guests, and she was like, oh my gosh, you need to meet Danielle. And I was like, done. And so I'd love for you to share one of those three, whatever you feel more comfortable with. It helps the audience have another layer of connection of like how we know each other.
Yeah. My good friend and former colleague, Sarah Anglade, she's a powerhouse of a woman. We worked together at Robert Half. We're both recruiters there, and she left and started her own business, and she is just killing it. But at the same time, we've been able to keep in touch over years, and we definitely are very bold personality people driven. And so we've been able to kind of be that rock for each other, not only career wise, but also personal wise. And so, I've had a lot of things happen in my life that were very unexpected and definitely interesting stories over the past, I would say, 3 years. And, after Sarah was on this, she thought that it might be helpful to others that have even gone through even a portion of what I've gone through. Because I have, I guess, been successful in being able to learn and grow from everything and just live every day and move forward and just enjoy life regardless of what's happened in the past. So it's kind of how I got referred.
I love it. Yeah. And it's been an instant connection ever since, honestly. Like I said, you and I were just like 90 minutes, and I was like, I've got to go to the bathroom. And you're like, I was like, I got to go because I got to stop. I'm going to pee. I can't. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta go too. And that's when I was like, okay, this is real. And this is something that needs to be shared with other people. And, that's what I love about this show. I'm interviewing ordinary people that live extraordinary lives, and every story is unique and it's different and it's real and it's raw. And to be able to steward this platform by having a really fun conversation with you where you get to share your heart. And what I know and I've seen before is that every episode blesses one person. And this is going to be no different. So, getting to know you a little bit of your story and honestly, I got the 90-minute version, right? But there's obviously so much more. And I'm excited to get to know you even more as friends as we continue our friendship. But, the two words that come to mind that I'm in awe of are grit and tenacity, not to mention resilience. I think those three words are definitely if you were going to have just three major words that I think identify you, those are it. Who would you credit those character traits to? And who were you? Who was Danielle as a young girl?
Yeah, I would say I probably credit it to my parents, especially my mom. My mother is the sweetest, strongest, most passionate woman I've ever met. And I don't think I really appreciated it until I was an adult. But this woman, she's literally she worked in nonprofit her entire career, working from Planned Parenthood up to running an entire nonprofit for the state of Florida. But I think the thing about her that really is an inspiration is she did a great job, and along with my father, of instilling hard work, accepting failure and learning from failure, but always picking yourself up and keeping trying. But they also gave me a great balance to where, they were strict on me, but they weren't like, you're a failure if you don't succeed the first time. They were like, try as hard as you can. And if it doesn't work out, we'll figure out a different path to get there. But at the same time, my mother is a ray of sunshine. She always sees the positive in everything. And I think that's where I get it from. She finds joy in the littlest things, from taking her dog for a walk to volunteering now at Meals on Wheels. And even when she was going through breast cancer, every day she was just glad to get there. And then whether even just be like, I got to have my martini this evening, like, oh, that's the highlight of your day. And she's just, like I said, she's like, anyone that thinks I'm a positive person should meet my mother, and they will understand where I get
where
it
you
from.
got it from. Yeah.
I'm a strong, positive lady for sure.
Gosh. And that obviously has had an impact too, because, I mean, speaking of your childhood, like that, that was what you were learning. You were learning how to be that person. And I mean, obviously we don't know it when we're, children, but that kind of mentality and outlook on life is far more valuable than sometimes the paychecks. Well, not sometimes, all the paychecks that we make.
Yeah.
Right. And, you obviously would not have been able to know that, like, who your mom was, stewarding and developing you to be was going to be some of the greatest gifts that you'd ever received in your life, right? Because it was going to be the foundation, the platform for, where you are now. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about who were you as a child? What was that like? Because obviously I had this awesome image of your mom and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to
Yeah.
know her, right?
Yes.
Which I said to you on the first time we talked. But yeah, who were you? Share the audience so they can have like an inside scoop.
I've developed a lot as a person, but I still have the same disposition in some way. I'm an only child. My parents were workaholics though, so I was that kid that was in before school and after school. Like, I would see my parents, like, I was literally somewhere else from 7 to 7 every single day. And so I had to make my own friends, right? So I was always had like, like an outgoing, energetic person. I also have ADHD, so that kind of adds to that. Always a bundle of energy. I was a Girl Scout for 11 years. I was in the International Baccalaureate program, so I was taking college classes in high school. And I've always been like, I'm not like the smartest person in class, but I'm always like, want to learn more. And so
Yeah.
I love being challenged. And so I've had an interesting experience going from an upper middle class elementary school to not a nice middle school and high school where the program was, and just taking everything in and meeting people across the board, across socioeconomic, classes, and just, I don't know. And then, like I said, I went to Florida State, met my husband, and have moved a couple times since then. But, as a kid, I think that my parents did a great job of, they were workaholics, but the minute they got home, it was family time. And we had dinner at the dining room table every night. And if it was my turn, I got to pick out the CD that we listened to during dinner, and we talk about our day. And that happened every night. Friday nights, we got to eat dinner at the coffee table and have takeout. But every night was that family time. And then we'd go on vacations. We'd either rent a beach house or we'd travel. And like, it was nothing elaborate or fancy, but like, my parents did a really good job of showing me a balance between hard work, do what you enjoy and what you love, but also save time for the people and the things you love doing. And I think that's always resonated with me, because I want to work hard in my career, but my career will never be more important than a balanced lifestyle. So that's kind of like me. I was a happy kid. So, I mean, everything wasn't always easy.
No, of course not.
Yeah. I thought a lot as a kid, but like, you got to always just find the positives in each day. And that was my mom was able always to ground me on, so.
I love that. And what did your parents do growing up? Obviously, you said your mom started a nonprofit.
Yeah, she worked she worked her way up, like literally worked at like clinics, and then worked at this Developmental Disabilities Council. And then she went to work for the state legislature of Florida for children and families. And then she actually got to be the head of the Developmental Disabilities Council. So she got to help pass legislature for children and individuals with learning disabilities and physical disabilities all across the state. So she'd be giving press conferences and news articles and all that stuff. And my dad, bless his heart, he saw my mom was that driven person, and he turned down offers to go move other places because my mom was so passionate about her job. So he worked for the state, like with Utilities Commission for, I don't know, like 30 years. He's super smart. He has like a master's degree and almost his doctorate. He just didn't finish that but anyways, so interesting couple, very opposites. But yeah, met in college, and they've been married for 47 years.
So cool. And I love the idea of what you're talking about is like your family, your parents were intentional. I think that's the word, right? Like balance will come and go, right? But that intentionality of like, no matter what, like, setting the time aside and having takeout nights. And those are like, that's, I think, such a stressor right now for a lot of parents, is having to be everything and all the thing. I just did an interview last week about the superhero mom complex of like having
Yep.
to be a working professional and be at every single event and all this stuff. And
No,
$20 says your mom was not at every single thing.
never. I never. She'd drop me off at gymnastics and then she'd go back to the office until my session was done. And then even in volleyball, I didn't actually want her there. I was like, you make me mess up. But no, I mean, like she'd go to like one game a season and I didn't care.
Yeah.
I always had a ride everywhere, but
Yeah.
that's
She
what happened.
redirected that intentionality to the
Yeah.
more intimate times, right? The dinner. And so if you're listening and you are a parent and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to be all the things. Well, you can't be all the things. So what are the things that are special to you that you want to incorporate in your family, and just focus on that? If it is sitting down every single night to have dinner with your family, full stop, great. If it's, hey, every other weekend we get together and do like, we unplug as a family and we just, whatever
Yep.
that is, like, I think, it's knowing that you can't do it. You cannot do it all. And you can't,
Yes.
like you have to make an exchange. And I think your parents did an incredible job of sharing that, which is like so cool. I can't wait to meet them. They just sound like such awesome people.
Yes. You would love
Super, super cool. So we're going to transition a little bit now. The audience has, some of your history, and obviously went to school and you met your husband. And so for those that are listening and really engaged, just know we're entering into a part of the conversation that may be tough to hear, and that may be, emotionally challenging and emotionally overwhelming. So just be mindful of that. Because yeah, I just want to prepare everybody, because we're not going into flowers and daisies in this next part of the podcast. So, just 2 years ago, your husband of 8 years, 15 together, 8 married, 7 he was pursuing you, and 15 altogether, passed away unexpectedly. You woke up and found him in your living room, and at that season of life, you had just changed companies. He was going to school, making some career changes. Prior to him, just tragically leaving this earth, like things were going well. Share with us, a little bit of who he was. I really want to make this time about honoring him, because I think so much of who you are is because of that relationship and just the encouragement and just the person that he was. And I just want to take this time for you to get the platform to get to do that. And then share with us like what happened.
Yeah. That's a hard question. I mean, I would say if I had to think of one word that described my husband, it'd be integrity. Um, he was very intelligent and hardworking. I would say stubborn, but that's also the other scale of driven, right? But he was also, for me, he was funny and silly, and I was really blessed because we were very different. I'm very outgoing. He's not. The people he talked on the phone with commonly were his parents once a week, but then me. And then he had lots of friends, but he's the kind of person that they'd be like, let's go, Tommy, let's go out, like, or let's go watch the sports or whatever. Like, he didn't do that. Like, he was more internal. So like when I say my husband wouldn't shut up, he just couldn't stop talking, people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's because I was his best friend. And we met when we both worked at Abercrombie in college, and we used to fold clothes next to each other. And, we were lucky that we continued to grow and develop and not grow apart. I mean, there were times that, where we were in our life weren't exactly the same, but we were together. And I moved to Texas for him. And, I was really lucky. I was a supportive person to him, like, whatever you want to do, I trust you, vice versa. Like, I was able to take some risks in my career. I completely changed industries twice. And I was able to do that because my husband had a stable career. He worked in public accounting for a little bit, and then 8 years in oil and gas as an accountant. And then, like you were saying, he actually had just changed jobs after COVID. COVID was kind of hard on people. I think it kind of really screwed people up, staying inside and just figuring out, like, where am I in life? He bought a lot of cars, bought a Great Dane, Henry, that's wandering around. And one of the things he decided was that career was really important to him all of a sudden, after not really thinking it was that important. Like, we used to travel the world. This is a picture of Italy. We went, and then so he went back to school and he was getting his MBA. And that was really hard. But, I was like, hey, you supported me. If you want to do this, if you want to work 60 hours a week and still go to Rice University to get your MBA, I'm going to do it. It was hard. I think, and it was really hard watching him because I knew he had a goal and I knew he's so driven, but I also don't think he took care of himself. And at the end of the day, you can't make someone do anything, even if you're their spouse. So he was really stressed out and he wasn't eating well and he wasn't sleeping well. And, he wasn't exercising. And so I don't know. I mean, they really don't know what happened other than his heart stopped. I do believe it was a perfect storm of all those things. There are other things I could say that he did have COVID a few months earlier, but again, I don't know. And so, yes. So unfortunately, after a nice evening, he actually got done with work by 7 on a Friday and we watched a movie and I went to bed early. And the next morning, middle of the night, woke up and I thought he fell asleep on the couch and he was gone. It was hard. It was really hard. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I guess as a person who was raised with like resilience, I had to, after my freak out for a little while, I had to snap and go, what do I have to do next? What's the next step? He's not here to come pick up those pieces. So who else is going to do it if I don't do it? So yeah, so as a person, he made me better and I think I made him better. And he chose me and I chose him. And I was blessed to be married to my best friend. So yeah.
So special. And we even talked about it when we first chatted of just like the beautifulness that was the night before. Like it's just so easy, right? To this horrible thing happen. And of course, for your mind to go to all the extreme and the negative and all the things that like just are natural and should. And yet when you and I were chatting, like you saw the beauty in like, wow, like the night before was not normal. Like that was such a gift. That was such a beautiful time to get to be together, get to spend time together. That wasn't normal. And amongst for that season at least. And so I just think that is a kind of like a key into, who you are as a person, but also just the willingness that you have to open your heart to see the joy and the beauty amongst the pain, right? And I think some people here listening need to understand as we continue to talk, it's like, it's not that Danielle has not grieved and it's not continuing to grieve and will grieve for the rest of her life, but there's this beauty in finding all the right ways to heal and just walking in hope and in joy, right? Despite still living in that pain. Um, again, we got to talk so many beautiful things, in our conversation. And I just love, your husband I didn't know him, but I feel like I know him from all the amazing things that you share about him and will continue to share about him. And Tommy's just, I don't know, like, I feel like just sturdy and stable also just comes to mind. And I think that played out in the aftermath and everything that you had experienced as well. And so, how did your husband's love and belief in you impact you while he was alive? And like, honestly, like, how is his kindness living on in you today?
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I don't think you realize it, but like the confidence you get from knowing that no matter what happens with your job, or if you lose friends and people fall out of your life, or even if you're having drama with your family, your spouse is the person you chose. They're your best friend. They're your cheerleader on both sides, right? And at the end of the day, if I was having a hard day, I know he was there. And I think that's why I was so brave to take all those risks in my career. I took several career moves where I took one that was a pay cut, and then another that was lateral. And so I think that I wouldn't have been able to do that without him. And my husband was very responsible. I think I was telling you that he was an accountant. So he did a lot of things I didn't even know about. He had just taken out a life insurance policy. He had made a lot of investments, good investments throughout our lives, like buying a house at the right time. And then we rented that house out. And then we bought a different house at the same time. So multiple properties, a lot of savings. Did things that I was like, why is someone in their late 20s doing this? And why is someone in their 30s doing this? And, he had everything planned out, like when we could retire, we make this much money, and like everything was set up. And like I said, not knowing he had even taken that life insurance policy out, I was like, he was preparing that if something did happen to him, that I would be taken care of. And I won't lie to you, I am. So even though there's a lot of people who lose people in their life, and and they don't get to grieve properly because they're wondering where their next meal's coming from. And I was really blessed that my husband did these things that taking care of all the legal things that come after someone dies, the amount of money I've had to spend, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have these life insurance policies. And just that alone, let alone the love. And so moving forward, I guess, and one way when he was alive, if I got frustrated with something, I didn't want to do it, I would just be like, I can't do it, babe. And he'd take over. But I have to keep remembering that he's not here to do that. And as much as I want to be my little stubborn, flighty ADHD self, I have to figure it out. And he believed in me to take all these changes and risks in my career. And I was smart enough to learn new industries and learn engineering from having a fashion degree and do all these things that I can figure out how to balance the budget and, research new plans and, change, like fix things around the house minimally. And deal with all the legal stuff without getting frustrated, hanging up on them. And just remember that he has my back. And if I could have done it before, I can do it now. And he believed in me to take those risks. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let me do it because I would have not had a job, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I just remember his belief in me, but also I break it down into little more usable, like doable steps. And then I reward myself after each little one. Like if I have to be on the call center, I have to call one of the things that's held him. My husband passed, and okay, this is going to be emotionally exhausting, but I'm going to do it. And I have a checklist, and that's all I can handle today. Okay, the next day I'm going to make 2 calls. Okay, next day I'm going to do this, and break it down like that. But I guess also just knowing, I feel like his presence is still here, even though he's not. And I think even though he's not here to have the love, to show me the love, I know I'm so blessed to know how to be loved. And I don't think I realized that. Not everyone my age has been in love, not only just been loved by their parents, but been truly, deeply loved and had a partner that was theirs and like that you was, your rock. And so I just always remember that going forward, because if I never find anyone again, at least I know what it's like to be loved, and I know what I'm valued. And I don't think the confidence I have now as a human being, whether it be, in my career or my dating or my personal life or just getting things done, or like, I think that being loved by someone, a spouse, gives you confidence that most people can't understand. And I learned how to love, and I'm able to share that love with people I meet now, friends, relationship, any kind of relationship you have in your life, whoever it is, or whatever form it is. I know how to take what it feels like to be loved and value and worthy, and be able to share that and make other people feel like that too.
So
I don't know if I
special.
answered the question.
No, yeah, you did. It was honestly so beautiful. And a couple of things that I took from that. Number one, we talked about a little bit, but I love that you shared about just like your husband he was always prepared, but for whatever reason, he felt like his actions towards, the end of his life were very intentional. And for me, I'm a curious person, and I always like, as a believer of God, I'm like, oh, like this is almost too intentional. Like, do you think that there was some sort of like intuition, whether it was God for him or whether it was like a gut feeling to take those intentional steps for you? Like, even if he didn't know, like it just seemed so much more out of left field than he was used to, like to pull out that life insurance policy and to do some of these, like, do you feel like, does that feel like it was almost extra? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that question's making
And so
sense.
it's funny you say that. And like, I don't know why he didn't. I didn't even know he did. And he had done it only a year before he passed. And some man had reached out to me, and I was like, I don't know who you are. Why do you keep calling my number? I don't know who you are. And he's like, I'm your husband's whatever broker for this. And I'm like, who? Like, why don't I know this exists? Like, and I don't know. But I don't know if it was a combination of something was telling him he needs to do this and be proactive. Um, I also feel like, I know guys speaking about higher beings and just faith, and he wasn't super religious, and I'm not like an everyday church person, but I do believe there is a path for all of us. And I do think it was I believe more now, because there were so many things starting at COVID that lined me up and lined him up to start preparing myself mentally just all the stress and the way you're handling things, say, hi, you know what? This is your best friend, but you also need to make sure you learn how to do things in life, and you learn how to diversify your relationships, and that you're not only in a relationship with your husband, that you have friendships and strong family, like, and you could do other things that what's going on. And it was almost like a reality check to like start making sure you're stable on your own. And like I always say this, I was never not whole without my husband. I was only better with him. And I think COVID kind of like something about around that time made me start realizing I needed to start making sure I was whole on my own without him, and vice versa. And not because I didn't want him in my life, but because you have to be strong to be a good partner. And each of you have to be strong to be the other someone that the other person can lean on if they need to, or that I can lean on myself if I need to. And that's why, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I don't know.
that's like, and the fact that, I mean, for me, I like in my own story, I'll claim it as God, right? Obviously, like higher power in general, but like to see God working so intentionally in both of you, but not telling you, right? In a sense of like yours was really in the personal growth, in the getting uncomfortable, in the maybe untangling friendships that weren't serving you, and doing some hard things still within the love of your husband. And then your husband was doing some of these outer things that had nothing to do with like personal growth, but more of like covering and protection, like so
Yeah.
beautiful and like crazy. And like it and even, I think we talked a little bit about it, but to think about what life would have been like if you hadn't started to take those steps, like
Yeah.
how much farther along you are now than maybe you would have. Like, we don't even need to go into it, because it just would have been a very different experience, I think, for you. And just uncovering and the grit and, and again, just, I love that you said there's definitely a woman or a man listening on here that is resonating, to when you said, because they believed, because Tommy believed in you and loved you and he gave you a safe space. He created this power within your mind, your subconscious mind, that you can do hard things. And you would never know until the hardest thing of your life was going to be at your front door, that like, just like your parents, just like your mom and dad, Tommy was also creating that foundation within you of that, no, you can do hard things. And
Yep.
I mean, I think that's incredible. And I don't know who needs to hear that, who has a spouse or a partner or a friend or a sibling that believes in them, and just keep leaning into that, because there's something that person is trying to help you grow and discover, right? To level you up, to help you into the next season. And again, I just think it's so beautiful that just your dynamic as a marriage was also the catalyst to, life after as well.
Yeah.
So special. We talk about choosing, which is crazy. We're going to go into this. So we talk about choosing your heart on this podcast. And the choosing your heart is, both decisions are hard, right? But ultimately the decision that you choose is the one that is going to grow you, that's going to be the best for you, potentially. Like, you don't see it now, but you'll see it later. Share with us, after all of that, but share with us a choosing your hard moment that comes to mind.
I mean, when you think that was the only crazy story that's happened in the past few years, it's not. Right after he passed away, I had 3 dogs, and one of them was already dying. And so I had to put her down a month later. And then the following year, my lab was 14 and he was not doing well. And I had to make that decision to, what's the best quality of life. And I had to put him down. But in between those two, I decided that I think the hardest part was, again, I needed to change careers. I was driving 45 minutes to an hour each way to my job that I had previously loved. But because of new management that happened a couple months before Tommy passed, I had a new boss who had no idea what he was doing, did not believe in his employees, and made work very difficult. And as someone who did the job of 3 to 4 people at a time, at the end of the day, it wasn't about the money. It was about feeling valued and appreciated and having a work-life balance. And when everything happened, and I understand that life is so short, tomorrow's not promised, I couldn't stay anymore in a career where I'm driving 2 hours a day out of my day to go somewhere where my boss doesn't believe in me.
Yeah.
And so I got the opportunity to go to a firm that's an executive search firm that's completely remote, that I knew the person for years because I used him as a resource, and told him everything that happened to me. And he still wanted to take a risk on me. He gave me all the work balance I wanted. I ended up taking like 2 months off before. If I'm having a bad day, he's like, don't even get online. I don't care. I have unlimited vacation. I have a great team. And it was a really scary, scary change. But I made that. And I said, you know what? I need to do this for myself. I've been working, grinding since I graduated college, and that's what my parents instilled in me. But I also need to learn balance for myself and let myself breathe for this time in my life. And I did that, after about 6 months. That's my Great Dane. I'm sorry. FedEx is here. Anyways, and so I was going to make this big change. But the day that I put my notice in,
Yeah.
my Great Dane was at daycare, and apparently he jumped through a window, and he sliced his entire chest open, and his lung was hanging out. And the daycare let him bleed out for an hour and a half. He broke a leg and a ligament in the other leg. And I had to take him to the hospital myself, carry him myself. It was pretty traumatic. I pretty much had a panic attack, and I don't know how I even drove. It was like using every strength I could possibly have. I didn't even know I had the strength to drive him bleeding out in my backseat to the hospital. And he had a 50-50 shot of making it. And most people probably wouldn't have done it because a Great Dane is very large and they take a lot of blood and a lot of surgery and a lot of anesthesia. And if I hadn't had that life insurance policy, I wouldn't even have taken that shot. But this dog was not even 2 years old, and he was my husband and I baby. I don't have kids. So I took that risk. That was really hard. And sitting in the lobby for hours and hours and hours to say he's stable for the night, and having to go home, and then him staying in ICU for a week, and that bill doubling for what it was said it was supposed to be, and then nursing him back to health for 2.5 months. Again, that was another strength I didn't think I had. And that's why I say I do believe in God, because again and again, he kept giving me strength that I didn't think I had. And sorry. But I'm so glad I did, because I don't think I could have gotten through it without my dogs. And that sounds silly, but like, my dog is larger than me. So he's like my child. And so knowing your boundaries and knowing the things that are important to you and being able to fight for what's important to you, I think was my hard moment, and not willing to give up. And now he's over 4.5, and he is annoying and loud, a lot of personality, but he's a happy Great Dane. And yeah, so it's been an interesting several years, and I've been challenged over and over again by death and rebirth, and pushing my boundaries and pushing my strengths, whether it be physically by trying to lift a Great Dane, or and giving him shots and taking him to the bathroom, literally lifting him, to emotionally having to figure out a balance between letting yourself grieve, but also having a job and paying your bills and getting through all the legal stuff. And I don't know, I don't think I would have been able to do any of that stuff without a balance of knowing, number one, God has a plan for me. I don't know what it is, or at least God knows I could handle this. I don't think God would let me have any of these things thrown at me if he didn't think I could handle it. But also knowing that even though my husband's not here, he's here. He is watching me, and he is cheering me on. And I know he wanted me to do that. He wanted me to save Henry. So Henry's here, and we saved him. So that was my hard moment, making that decision, and then knowing if he does survive, it's going to be a very long road to recovery. And if he didn't survive, it's going to be another emotional toll on me. And so that was my hard moment after everything.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I feel like I feel like there's a little bit of potentially like Tommy's energy on Henry, because Henry, I feel like, did something for you that Tommy has done, which was, and you and I talked about even understanding the rehabilitation process for a Great Dane. It was another layer of like, okay, what do I need to do to be, physically able, right? Physically strong. And then, for most people, not most, but for a good chunk of people, it would have been like, woe is me or sad. And you are immediately like, well, I got to get stronger. Like I need to physically be able to endure carrying and caring for a 125-pound Great Dane. And that is just also so in line with what Tommy was doing with you as well, of like giving you the space to feel safe, but also like challenging you to grow and to endure. And I love that you shared that with me, in our conversation of like, okay, he was healing, but as he was healing, I was like, gosh, like what more can I do? Because I need to grow stronger.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because I think the whole process, and I think I told you is that like I never asked for help. I'm not that kind of person that asks for help other than my husband. That's the one person I will ask for help. But I didn't have that. So a lot of people stepped up to make me take their help. And I'm glad I did. It takes a village. But even after all that happened, I hated it. But every time I have to take him back to the hospital every week for new bandages, I couldn't pick him up. And I had to call a guy friend to help him pick him up because he weren't allowed to like halfway and like strain legs. And it was very frustrating to me. And so actually after that happened, I started working out really hardcore. I started lifting weights and like being really healthy. Another, of course, take on what I think contributed to my husband's passing is, but like I said, I wanted to be more independent emotionally, but also physically, right? Because I have a dog that weighs more than me, but I need to be able to, hold him back and help get him into a car if down the line. And so it challenged me to say, hey, I need to step up physically, not only just emotionally and intelligently for things, just I need to physically do this. And I'm glad I did because again, like I said, if I'm taken off this earth, it's not going to be because I didn't take care of myself. It's going to be because it's my time or some freak accident. It's not going to be that. So, and I have to stay alive and healthy for him until he's gone. Like, he's like was my motivation each day to get up and not stay in my bed during the grieving and to take a shower and to make those calls and to get a new job and to do all these things. So whatever your motivation is, take it and use it, but have something that you're working towards or, for or whatever it is, your children, your dogs, your family. But that's one of the reasons that helped me become the healthier version and happier version that I am now because he was my reason to keep moving on too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beautiful combination of seeing like, okay, this didn't work. This wasn't right. This can't keep going. And being willing to make a tough choice and being willing to say, okay, like these are tough choices. It's to will yourself emotionally, to will yourself physically, and then to like exude energy physically and to grow. Like it'll take so much effort. And I've been talking a lot lately about like the decisions we make for our future self. And, I think Tommy displayed that in his actions, within the last year of, him being here on earth. And I think you are just a really good model of that as well. It's like, you're not lifting or you weren't lifting and growing, getting strong because you felt like it. You were doing it so that when you're walking, Henry, and something gets him excited, your future self will be like, I got this, like you're going to be stronger within. And then even as it relates to as you are in the season of dating and just meeting new people, all of those things that you did that were really hard were preparing you for your future self, right? So you're in this season of internal growth and healing, but also like just this beautiful uncovering and almost like becoming a new sense of self. And time again, you have shown beyond capable of rising from the ashes. And I hope that someone hears that and really can either feel resonated with, like they too are like you, or they're in a really hard season, traumatic season. They've had a lot of loss and they can look at you and be like, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. And I just want to know, and I'm excited for you to share with the audience, what are you most looking forward to or dreaming about in this new season, right? The dog is healthy. Henry is good. The assortment of legal things were sorted out. You have a new supportive boss and a career. Now, like, what's next? What are those things for you?
I mean, it's interesting because I mean, like a lot of people feel like they have these like steps they have to have. I want to find someone. I want to get married. I want to buy a house. I want to have kids. I want to be like the next level of my career. I want to do this and this. I think I'm excited to not know what lies ahead and to not have to have everything planned. And that I wouldn't have been able to do that without him. I found a job I like where there's not necessarily a ladder, but I still have the potential to meet new people every day. I'm a recruiter. I and I get to be in a really important industry that keeps the light on, and talk to people every day and learn more about something and challenge myself intelligently, like, every day. But I want to travel more and I want to see more things. And I honestly just want to figure out who the new me is, because I'm not the same person I was when I was 10, and I'm not the same person as I was as 25, and I'm not the same person I was when I was 32. And giving myself grace to know that it's okay that I'm not the same person. If anything, I'm probably, hopefully, going to be able to use all the life experiences I have to become the person that I want to be and figure out what I want, right? I think before there was always a balance of what kind of me is the best for my relationship. And that's kind of what happens when you've been with someone for so long. You grow within the boundaries of how am I going to fit within this relationship. And now I have the sky's the limit. So I'm excited to not have a ceiling, to not have
That's
a
so
stage.
good. So good.
And I know that's so weird because I don't have a goal
No,
or a dream.
it's so good. I'm
Dream
like,
is to
I'm
figure
excited
out
about
what
it.
my dream is. So this year I just want to travel more. I've been on 3 flights this year. I already have like 2 or 3 more trips planned. I'm going to Portugal. My girlfriend and I are going to go to Sedona and go hiking in a month. That's going to be
So cool.
all opening. And just go
Sedona's
back to
amazing.
Mexico. And
Yeah.
I'm just, I want to see the beauty of the world. And I don't know, just see where life takes me, because I've never been able to do that. I've always had to have, these are the steps and go in life.
And like you said, within the bounds of who Tommy was and who you guys were growing to be as a couple. And I love that your perspective is really about like, what can I do and how far can I go and how far can I achieve and what can I achieve? And that just is exciting. I think in many ways we should all be doing that, right? Regardless of the relationships. I think naturally that those bounds happen when you love someone, but then there's the element of, always wanting to grow and to develop yourself and to be better and to do more. And I think that the more you're doing that, the more if the next person comes and they're the right person for you, it's going to make sense because you're going to have gone through all of that discovery and you're going to show up as the version of you that's ready for that person, right? Without any sort of stipulations or anything like that. And that's beautiful, right? And again, to be able to have relationships and experiences, but I just love even your willingness to be on this podcast and to share your story because that is also really hard. And that is also like really challenging. I will give myself credit. I'm very easy to chat with, but it's still raw and real, and it's your story and it's your love story. And I think, I just not I think, but I know that a lot of men and women are going to hear your story and they're going to believe they can too. And because it's just exceptional. It's an exceptional journey that you've come on, even in your childhood, and just again, I just love how intentional God was with your parents and preparing you for a time such as this, and then everything was preparing you for your future self. I think yeah, it's so beautiful. And also, speaking of Sedona, side note, this is like nothing serious, but went to Phoenix last year, 2 years ago. We did a hiking trip, and I know we were in Sedona. We were taking some random hike. It wasn't, trendy. And there was this gentleman that got hurt and I happened to carry Tylenol just in case. And he was an older gentleman and I gave him Tylenol because I knew it would help with the swelling and like whatever. Let me tell you what, Danielle, girl, when we're leaving hiking back, there were 6 of the most attractive, handsome figure, like friendly men I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, oh, are these the men that like rescue people like hiking in the mountains? I was like, girls, do we need to go back? Do we forget something? Like, what's happening? I've never seen like more, like they were hustling to save a life. And I was like, amazing. So I hope that no injury happens, but just so you know, there are a lot of attractive, fire. I don't even know what they were called. Like
Park rangers.
Park rangers. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Something. Yeah. Like I was like, man, that is not what we have back home. that is not it. So anyway,
Sometimes there are different standards, apparently.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like, I mean, you do have to be. It's a very different measures of like physically fit. I can imagine based on like what you're experiencing. But I'm so excited for your traveling. It'll be a lot of fun. And Sedona is like so cool. So you're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah,
You're gonna really enjoy it. So if someone is listening and has endured great loss like you have, what is a piece of advice you'd give them that has helped you walk out each day? I mean, you've already shared so many things, but what is something that really specifically comes to mind?
Well, I think one thing I struggled with before in the beginning is that like I actually felt guilty that my grief didn't look like what the movies show grief supposed to look like. And I think the thing is, no grief is the same, right? My grief wasn't keeping me in bed and I couldn't even move and I was numb for months. My grief hit really painfully, where I literally felt like someone just shot me and I fell to the ground. And then that happened for an hour and then I'd be okay. And what kept me going on is that no, two things. Number one, they say no one's really gone until the memories of them are gone and no one talks about them anymore. So you have those memories and no one can ever take those memories that you have with that loved one. And remembering just how they made you feel and how you made them feel. And me remembering that although my husband only lived 37 years, we lived them wonderfully. We traveled all over the world. We had a house. We had dogs we loved. We had a boat. Like we had everything he would have ever wanted. And he did all of that in those 37 years. And most of the stuff he did was since we were together. And a lot of people don't do as many things as we did their whole lives. And we did them within 8 years of marriage. And so I also think in another way, I think it's selfish if I didn't live my life. I think that I know he's watching me and I'm taking for granted the life that I have, and that if I'm not going out there and meeting new people and experiencing new things and just enjoying the sunshine outside and sitting in my backyard and reading a book, I don't care what it is, but I'm enjoying it and being grateful for being here alive. So what I say is, you're allowed to think about these people as much as you want. Try to focus on the good things. I promise that the feelings do change. Now that when I think of him, I used to think of just the absence and the pain of him not being there. But now when I think of him, I smile. I may cry and smile, but it's all just feeling blessed to have so many good memories. So hold on to the good memories, and it's okay to talk about them as much as you want, but also remember that you're doing them no justice by not living your life. You're not being selfish by living your life. You're actually being selfish by not living your life. So let them live vicariously through you and let their memory live on by you living your life and sharing about them, because maybe they didn't get to hear that story or know that about them. And so that's what I strive to do, because he's in most of my stories. Yeah. And so I'm never going to stop talking to him, even if I end up with someone new. They're going to respect those stories.
Is there anything that you do special that, like, is there a day or something that you do that, you honor him by, that you're willing to share? I don't know what that looks like. Some people who've lost a parent, they'll celebrate a Christmas tradition, in honor of them each time. Have you found that thing for you of a way to, consistently, love and honor Tommy in something?
I mean, I think Sunday dinners were really important to us. And so I really don't like going out Sundays. I want to be home by 5:00 on a Sunday, and just making dinner and, sitting down at the dining room table, even if just by myself, and just kind of being in the moment with that. I know that sounds really silly, but just, it was special to us. And it's a tradition that I still do every single week. And he might just be there in spirit. Right. And I don't know. And it just makes me think of him, or, playing, I kept his car. So I got rid of my car and I kept his car. So I'm driving his car. I hope you see me, honey. I'm driving it. And I feel like I listen to a lot more of his music now. And when I listen to a lot of the songs, I think of him, with the windows down when we're listening to those music. And I don't know, it's just, there's little things that bring memories of them, and it makes you feel more connected in the moment, whether it be, like I said, their car or that tradition that was really important to us every week, and that's how I start my week, right? Having the Sunday dinner, and then I can start my Monday fresh the next day. So just little things. I mean, they're there every day, and I'm blessed to still be in that house that we built together, and it actually brings me comfort, versus some people can't handle it. It actually brings me comfort.
Yeah.
So yeah, not one exact thing.
No, I love I think those are so cool. And also they're so, they're not radical. You were already doing them, right? You already were listening to music and you were driving, he was driving his car, but you driving his car with him, and you already were doing those Sunday dinners. You just didn't decide that because he's not there, you're not going to do them. You did them despite the fact that he's physically not there. And I don't think they're silly. I think that's amazing. And I think there's a lot of people that potentially feel like it is silly or feel like, well, they're not here. Why should I? Why? And I think you sharing that you should is going to encourage someone who has a tradition that can feel silly because it doesn't involve anybody else or it doesn't involve that person anymore. But in fact, like those are all the reasons to do it anyways, right? And really be present in it. Last question, then I want to go into lifestyle questions. This is not on the script. But knowing what you know now and knowing your incredible marriage and time with Tommy and the things that you experienced, if someone is listening that is married and their husband is alive or their partner is alive, what is, now that you know based on losing him, hi Henry, what would you, no, he's great. He's trying to have his moment. He's like, I wasn't around when you were talking about me, so I'm just gonna pop in. What advice would you give someone who is married, who their spouse is alive, that now that you know what you know, maybe you'd apply differently or encourage them to do something differently?
Yeah. Number one, please, if you don't already have your spouse on every single account, please do that. Number two, make a will. And number three, tell your spouse where all your passwords are. That was really hard. But that's just more logistics, right?
Mhm.
I would say the little things, like, you know how they always say, don't go to bed angry, like when I'm married? I truly believe it. Don't ever hit below the belt. Don't ever take something back, because I'm lucky that like we ended on a good note. Like, he left me. But what if we had gotten in an argument and I had gone to bed? I would never let myself live it down. I don't think I would have been able to. So I think making time for your person, even if it's just like you said, like I said, like that one evening and he was so swamped, you really didn't have the time to take off, but we had dinner together and watched a movie, or even if it was only, I got to do it with him like once every week or two because he was so busy. So just making time for your significant other, being kind and caring. And I always say it's not about the amount of time you have with someone, it's the quality of time you have with them. And I think that's kind of something I also learned from my parents. My parents, like I said, they were workaholics, but when we were together, we were together. And my mother worked, but when we were together, it was meaningful.
Yeah.
And they made sure that you felt loved. And I think that's just what's really important. If you're with someone, be understanding, be caring, remind them how much you love them, and just don't take a moment for granted, because you never know when's the last moment.
Those are so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And sharing the tactical, logistical things as well. But also just the emotional pieces of it. I think that's super special. And hopefully, again, if someone's listening that is still, their spouse are here, or just to be really more intentional, and this can kind of wake them up a little bit for sure. But yeah, this was incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Seriously.
Of course.
I think it was amazing to get to hear more of your story. And again, like, Sarah was not wrong. She's like, you've got to talk to her, but her story is so incredible. And it's more about what you're doing and your outlook and just your resilience and, just seeing God in it as well. Like, it's just super special. And I know it's going to bless somebody. So thank you for your willingness to share and your vulnerability. And thank Henry as well for his willingness and his vulnerability to be here on the show. I want to wrap up with 2 lifestyle questions. The first one is, what is your favorite coffee shop or drink shop if you don't drink coffee in Houston? And what is your go-to order?
And what was the second one?
What's your go-to order?
See, well, so like, you might judge me, but like, I don't really go out to buy coffee because I work at home.
That's okay.
I mean, if I get coffee, it's like usually after dinner at a restaurant. Like, I would say my go-to comfort place is like actually like my neighborhood brewery. They have coffee too, but like I've known the owner since they open, and I can bring Henry, and like the Henry's like grown up with their like children. Like one time Henry, the leash was on the ground and the little girl, like she's like 3, picks up the leash, and Henry, she walks with him, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to pull her. No, it isn't at all. Just walks like gently next to her. And I'm like, this little 3-year-old is walking my 130-pound dog and doesn't. So anyways, it's called The Walking Stick. It's a really great family-friendly area. You can get there's food trucks and live music, and they have beer and they have coffee and they have cool stuff. And it's just a good, like, cool vibe. And it's in my neighborhood. So
I love that. And it's
easy. Go-to place.
Yeah, in a family spot. That's super cool. Yeah. And not everybody drinks coffee. Like you said, you have it at home. If you brew it, you brew it at home, and there's no nothing wrong with that. What is a book that you have read multiple times and you believe someone listening should read too?
So you're gonna laugh at me. I know you totally I was supposed to go over this, but I don't read the same book twice. I've been reading so many books though. If anyone doesn't already have it, the Goodread apps.
Okay.
Goodread
Yeah.
apps.
Oh, love
I
Goodreads.
love it. You can share it with your friends and you can see what books they're reading. But I would honestly say there's not really a book I've read more than once.
Okay.
I mean, I could give you a list of really good books. I mean, Rebecca Yarros, she's really good. She does the ones that are very fantasy, but she actually has a couple that are not fantasy that I like even more. But I mean, Emily Henry's a really good artist. I just like those kind of light books that take you away from reality, because reality can be intense sometimes. So it's just nice to kind of get out of that, and have another outlet other than TV.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Sorry, that's not the best answer. But
no, I would say probably the last 5 years I started reading books twice, but I would agree. But honestly, you shared a couple really good authors. What was the first one? Rebecca Yarros?
Rebecca Yarros.
Yarros.
And then Emily Henry's always good.
Yeah, I love Emily. I've read several of her stuff.
Colleen Hoover's good. She did the one that the Blake Lively just did a movie about.
Yeah.
She has a ton of books. She's from Texas too.
Love that. Yeah, and I love your point too about books. Is I'm definitely a personal growth junkie. I love to read personal growth. I love to read books that are going to challenge me in my faith as well. But I love my sister will give me books to read, and she knows that I really just like the light stuff, because life is already really hard. I don't need to dive into a really hard book. I'm already living the life, right? And so I love that you mentioned that. For me, it's the light and fluffy love romance, the juvenile, the girl can't see the guy, just whatever that is, right? Where it's okay, you can put it down, but then at the same point, it's it takes you away for a little bit. I think that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Super, super cool. Well, thank you again, seriously, so much. This was incredible. And I am excited for it to come out and for people to get to hear your story and just to really be blessed by your willingness to share. It really means a lot.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. You guys, as always, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe on YouTube so you can get more of these episodes. And just share this episode with someone that you believe needs to hear it for whatever reason. There's so many things Danielle shared today that, may not have anything to do with the loss of her husband, but maybe her resilience and growth in general. And that is just inspiring. And you feel someone else would hear that. Share the episode. And as always, do good things, make me proud, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.